This is the Weekly Digest, a government information agency program that keeps you informed on what the administration has been doing that will create a better environment for citizens. I encourage you to stay tuned. In this week's presentation for the period June 5 to 12, 2015, Guyana rejects Venezuela's maritime claim, says it will continue to develop its resources. TIP operation nets 29 non-nationals. June 10, a historic day in Guyana as 11th Parliament opens, powers of local democratic organs to be restored, and implementation of national youth policy to be prioritized. Guyana rejects Venezuela's presidential decree that purports to annex maritime spaces, saying it will continue to access and develop its resources in keeping with the principle of international law.
Following the announcement of oil in Guyana found by ExxonMobil, Venezuela issued the decree. The re-emerging of Venezuela's claim to Guyana's territorial integrity has been termed by Guyana as a flagrant violation of international law. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Carl Gwenage, has stated that the decree is inconsistent with the principle that all states should respect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of other states. He added that Guyana rejects this illegality, which seeks to undermine efforts at development through the exploitation of its natural resources offshore. He added that any attempt by the Venezuelans to apply the decree in an extraterritorial manner will be vigorously resisted by Guyana. Minister Gwenage also declared that Guyana would spare no effort in bringing to the attention of the international community the aggressive and illegal act by Venezuela. The arbitral award of 1899 had definitively established a boundary between Guyana and Venezuela. It is clear that Venezuela, by the aforesaid actions, is no longer contending that the arbitral award of 1899 is null and void. The decree implies that international norms and good practices are not applicable to Venezuela, and consequently, that the decree with respect to the Essequibo region, as well as the maritime space the region provides, is ipso facto Venezuelan territory.
36 members of the 8th Partnership for National Unity plus Alliance for Change government were sworn in as members of Parliament as the 11th Parliament opened on June 10. The 11th Parliament opened on June 10 with the selection of a Speaker of the House, Dr. Barton Scotland, followed by the taking of the oath of office by 36 members of the new APNU plus AFC coalition government as members of Parliament. 3 of the members of Parliament are technocrats. They are Sidney Alicock, Minister of Indigenous Peoples Affairs, Mr. Keith Scott, Minister in the Ministry of Communities, and Mr. Winston Felix, Minister of Citizenship. The 26 ministers who are MPs are Vice President and Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu, Minister of State Joseph Harmon, Minister within the Ministry of Social Protection Simona Brooms, Minister of Governance Raphael Trotman, Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Basil Williams, Finance Minister Winston Jordan, Minister of Public Security Kemraj Ramjatan, Minister of Tourism Kathy Hughes, Minister of Public Health Dr. George Norton, Minister within the Ministry of Public Health Dr. Karen Cummings, Minister of Social Protection Valda Lawrence, Minister of Social Cohesion Amna Ali, Minister of Communities Ronald Bulkan, Minister of Education Dr. Rupert Rupnarayan, Minister within the Ministry of Education Nicolette Henry, Minister within the Ministry of Indigenous Peoples Affairs Valerie Garrido Lowe, Minister within the Ministry of Finance Jaipal Sharma, Minister of Agriculture Noel Holder, Minister of Business and Investment Dominic Gaskin, Minister within the Ministry of Public Infrastructure Annette Ferguson, Minister of Public Infrastructure David Patterson, Minister of Foreign Affairs Carl Greenwich, and Minister within the Ministry of Communities Dawn Hastings. There are also 10 regional MPs: Charandas Prasad, Michael Carrington, Richard Allen, Odwin Rutherford, Jermaine Figuera, John Adams, Jennifer Wade, Hemraj Rajkumar, Rajkumari Bancroft, and Valerie Patterson.
I, Moses Virasamy Nagamutu, do hereby solemnly declare that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the people of Guyana, that I will faithfully execute the office of Member of the National Assembly without fear or favor, affection or ill will, and that in the execution of functions of that office I will honor, uphold, and preserve the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana.
Speaker Scotland observed that without the presence of the opposition, the selection of the Deputy Speaker could not be done. MP Amna Ali was appointed as the government's chief whip. The APNU plus AFC government got 33 of the 65 seats in the National Assembly and the opposition PPPC 32. The Ministry of Social Protection, in collaboration with the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Unit and the Guyana Women Miners Association, carried out a massive operation in Bartica Region 7, which saw 29 non-nationals being apprehended.
This operation, which was executed on June 6 at the Platinum International Hotel and the Top-Notch Hotel and Bar in Bartica Region 7, was led by Minister within the Ministry of Social Protection, Simona Brooms, who acted on a tip-off she received while visiting the region. The alleged victims are between the ages of 20 and 30 and are citizens of Dominica, Brazil, Colombia, and Venezuela. 4 were in the country illegally, and a similar number overstayed their time.
While I was heading the unit for tip and raided in Aranca, I had discovered a new trend of persons from Dominica, women from Dominica. But nobody paid any heed to that. And here again, we find a trend of persons from Dominica. The proprietor of the club, he is a flagged person by the Guyana Miners Organization. Flagged and was looking at his activity in the local circle, because we have persons here from Baroom Bar that was there and is now here. So you notice the shift in how it is running. So we got that information, and it's proven right. We got the information of his connection internationally, and that also is proven right, because, for example, you have one of the young ladies here who gets in here 2 days ago and arrived here yesterday, so she was sent directly to him. We were also informed that he would normally train them, and of course, for many months, he had Bartica and his movements at his own pleasure. So he did what he wanted when he wanted.
Subsequently, the victims, along with 2 perpetrators and others, were escorted by police officers to Georgetown, where a proper investigation was conducted. Of the 29 persons, 11 were charged with illegal entry and overstaying in Guyana.
We have one Brazilian. She was refused entry into Barbados, and she returned here, and she has an immigration officer number in her phone in which she contacted, and I spoke to that when she get back to Guyana, he just allowed her and kept her passport and said it's at CID headquarters. So I mean, all these breaches, it is good, and that's why the survey is being done, that we can identify it. We're definitely going to take a handle on human trafficking. Not forgetting that to educate the persons and the prostitutes at these bars and all of that. I did that last night, to educate them that we are not here to harm them. I know the proprietors of the bar are saying to them, oh, we want to do them so many different things, but I did have interpret to them that we are here to protect them. We want to ensure that they're here legally, and even if they're here, they're not supposed to be held against their will. Their passport belongs to them, because they did not have their passport. Junior, the guy who owns the building, he was a person with the passports and running for the passports, and so we did also educate them and ask them to pass the message on.
This was the largest of such operations in Bartica, and it demonstrates the new administration's commitment to work with stakeholders to eradicate TIP, not only in Bartica and Region 7, but Guyana as a whole.
15,225 students sat the National Grade 6 Assessment Examinations in 2015, and of these students, the Success Elementary School took the 2 top spots. The results have, however, shown that the top performers are drawn from other regions of the country as well.
The Minister of Education, Dr. Rupert Rupnarine, has observed that with regards to better garnering of results of the NGSA, especially in light of the fact there is much more to be done, that education is the most important task of the country.
We can find all the oil in the world and dig all the gold we can find in the earth, but if we don't educate our citizens, we will go nowhere. What you've been doing is really something we can't begin to thank you enough for. And one of the things that I am myself very committed to do is to ensure that our teachers have the best facilities, are amply rewarded in relation to their salaries.
Meanwhile, the top students expressed their elation over their achievements. Success Elementary Primary School's Solomon Chirai and Shania Eastman took first and second positions respectively. The third spot went to Celine Farina of Peters Hall Primary School.
I studied at night late. I couldn't make it in the morning, so I studied all my time at night.
I had to put off a lot of privileges and had to study a lot with my mom.
And she helped you greatly?
Yes.
You have your mom and dad?
My mom, my dad, and my sister.
Both happy and sad. Happy because it's just a great day. But I'm also sad because I have to leave my best friends behind.
Farina also shared third place with Sharia Passad and Isabella Hussein, both of the Academy of Excellence. Fourth place went to Afifa London of Success Elementary. All top students were awarded places at Queen's College.
Following the swearing-in on June 10 of the members of Parliament to serve in the 11th session, the Government Information Agency spoke with a few of the regional MPs, who are also newcomers, about some of the areas of precedence in their respective regions for which they would be seeking to make representation in the House. Region 10 APNU Member of Parliament Jermaine Figuera expressed confidence that the region would have the government's support, given the fact that it has over the years been behind the party. He said he would be making representation for a university campus within the region.
We are of the view that Region 10 is in dire need of an arm of the University of Guyana to be in Region 10. We have a number of outlying areas in the upper of the Berbice River, upper the Demawara River, 14 Amerindian settlements. So we believe that those people should have access to education in their region. We have over 26,000 people, so I don't see why is it that we have to come all the way to Georgetown. We have qualified people who can provide the service that the university would require.
Also from Region 10, APNU Member of Parliament Valerie Patterson said she will be looking at the streamlining of the Linden Hospital complex and the provision of health care and having the lawmakers rethink the operations of NISL in the region.
Some of the immediate things on our agenda, I can say we look at the Linden Hospital complex. We have a situation there where we have a tripartite arrangement. It's causing confusion. We're going to look at bringing all our employees under one umbrella. We also look at NISL, all of the buildings, and there's much buildings, land that are under NISL, and it's affecting development. People who want to come and bring inward investment into Linden Region 10, they cannot have access to land because they're all under NISL.
Charandas Passad, the AFC MP representing Region 6, will focus on getting increased recreational facilities for the region.
We do not have a proper sport facility in Berbice. We do not have a proper cricket ground, so to speak, where you can play good cricket. We used to have a few. They've all gone into mud. Well, most of them anyways. Albion is there, but it's flooded when it rains. They have floodlights, but they don't have a proper ground. Sports is where the youths need to be focused or channeled through to, because they're wasting time. And the devil makes work for idle hands.
Passad will also be focusing on pushing diversification and placement of businesses within the region towards creating jobs. You're with the Weekly Digest, a program produced by the Government Information Agency. The Ministry of Education, Department of Culture, Youth and Sport plans to prioritize the implementation of the long-awaited National Youth Policy. The ministry will also seek to look at best practices and evidence-based strategies from other countries as these relate to its priorities of getting more cultural and sport activities in school. The National Youth Policy was left in the draft stage by the previous administration.
What we plan to do moving forward, however, is to ensure that we get it moved from a draft state into a real policy that has some life, that is being implemented, and also a policy that has an implementation plan to accompany it. And that will be done, I rather suspect, within the first 100 days that we have the new government.
Addressing other areas of priority, the minister noted that her concern at present is examining the strategic plan of the various departments to identify what programs are working and what are not.
Coming into this ministry as the minister responsible for culture, youth and sport, I first of all would have to look at what they're currently working on with regards to their strategic plans, and then those things that are working well, I intend to continue to work in those areas and to strengthen them. Things that need a little more attention in order to work better, I intend to ensure that we make those adjustments. And having made the adjustments, things that may not be well suited for our setting, I would suggest that we make some changes.
As it relates to the focus of getting more sport and cultural activities in the school system, Minister Henry said emphasis will also be placed on how these strategies and programs are implemented.
We currently have in the school system physical education being offered, as you would know. I believe that through that mechanism, we can expand what is currently being done and integrate into mainstream education more sports. I also believe outside of that, for students that have the aptitude to really excel in sport, that would present a good opportunity of talent spotting more or less. And therefore you would work with those at a different scale based on their aptitude.
The ministry will also take the necessary steps to ensure that the implementation of strategies with regards to culture will bring about results that are in sync with other Caribbean countries. The administration has already begun demonstrating its intention to be more open to ensure a greater level of transparency as its modus operandi is different.
Finance Minister Winston Jordan has pointed out that the administration is on top of its game to ensure more transparency in giving all that they intend to do.
Already we are showing what we are doing differently. For number one, I have given more interviews. I believe, in 1-2 weeks, or how many weeks I've been here, than perhaps my predecessors have given in a whole year. You've had more access to me. I don't know how long more you're going to I'll be able to do it, but you've had more access to me. And the point I'm making is that the government, wary of what they had to go through when in opposition, is more aware of the need to inform the public, is more aware of the need to avoid the excesses, is more aware of the need to be accountable, right, in everything that we do.
The minister stressed that this manner of operating was drilled into the ministers at the very first cabinet meeting.
It's exemplified in a code that has been given to all of us, really. Both accountability in terms of what we do, accountability of our ministry, and accountability in government, essentially. So that is why we came here. First thing I tried to do is to understand what is going on. I had an understanding anyhow before, because I spent many years here and I knew where to look and so forth. And that's why we are moving fairly swiftly. All these forensic audits that we do, we will publish. I have all the reports. I've talked to my people, and I have all the back reports going up to Parliament. I hope to have everybody come up to speed by next year.
The Auditor General's report will continue, and work has already commenced on the 2014 report so as to have it placed before the Parliament in a timely manner. The minister indicated that he is already in talks with the National Procurement and Tender Administration Board about projects and the need for more transparency.
Government will be phasing out central government's domination and commandeering of local democratic organs' powers, and in so doing return the powers to the staff of these organs.
According to Minister of Communities, Ronald Bulkan, his vision is to have the staff of the local democratic organs' powers restored. During a recent introductory meeting at the ministry's Kingston boardroom, he informed the staff that the ministry sees its task as equipping and empowering the local bodies to manage their own affairs and better serve the communities. Moreover, the ministry's future role would be one of oversight in keeping with the laws governing local government. Minister Bulkan emphasized that the authors of the 1980 Constitution were aware Out of experience, the Guyana is too large to be effectively and efficiently managed from the center and vested powers in the local democratic organs. However, particularly for over the past 15 years, provisions relating to local democracy were honored in the breach. The ministry stated on June 1 that moves towards the restoration of local organs' powers have begun. He made this statement in reference to the opening of the Parliament Square to the public.
Formerly, this park was under the control of the Central Housing and Planning, and it's my intention to seek Cabinet's approval to be able to have the management of this particular facility to be a responsibility of the Georgetown municipality. That, of course, is consistent with the policy and the strategic vision of the new administration, which is essentially to be able to build capacity in our local democratic organs, to be able to equip and empower our local democratic organs, to be able to not only manage their communities, but carry out all of the responsibilities that they are mandated to under the legislation.
During Cabinet's statutory meeting at the Ministry of the Presidency on June 9, several issues of national concern were discussed. The media was subsequently briefed on Cabinet's deliberations.
At its June 10 statutory meeting, Cabinet gave its approval for Business Minister Dominic Gaskin to appoint an interim board for the Guyana Office of Investment, Go Invest.
There were a couple of important matters which Cabinet considered. One, of course, had to do with the appointment of a board of directors for Guyana Office for Investment. That, as you may well know, the life of that board came to an end in 2014. So the Go Invest is operating actually now without a board. So the application from the Honorable Minister of Business was for there to be an interim board set up for the purpose of guiding and directing policy for Go Invest for the next 6 months until such time that things can be considered properly and a permanent board is established. Cabinet gave its approval for the interim board to be established, and the board will comprise representatives from the Guyana Revenue Authority, the Guyana Lands and Surveys Commission, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the private sector, and that will be small business as well as the private sector commission, the diaspora, representatives from the opposition, representative from the Ministry of Tourism, and the Ministry of Business.
Approval has been given for one more sitting of the Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry.
Based on a presentation by the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, deliberated on the Walter Rodney Commission of Inquiry. And Cabinet considered, having regard to the amount of money already spent on this inquiry, that it was prepared to allow for the inquiry to wrap up its work. The Cabinet gave its approval for the inquiry to have one final sitting, after which it is to submit its findings to the President within 1 month.
The Cabinet was also briefed on the status of the sugar industry by Agriculture Minister Noel Holder. A decision was taken to have a new board run the operations of Gaisuco, and the industry's way forward will be crafted by representatives of the workers and government. Minister Harman also gave an update on the Petro-Caribe Fund, which is used to pay local rice farmers. That fund, he said, is bankrupt.
Cabinet also received an update from the Minister of Agriculture as it related to the situation in the Guyana Sugar Corporation, Gaisuco. And Cabinet was satisfied that the arrangements which have been put in place since last Tuesday, by the Minister of Agriculture was having a positive impact on the industry. Cabinet was briefed that the workers had been consulted, that the workers' representatives, that is to say, the Guyana Agriculture Workers Union and the NASI, that the unions had been consulted and that the intention is to ensure that the way forward is crafted with the representatives of the workers as well as management being involved in that process.
And with those features, we have come to the end of this edition of Weekly Digest. But before we go, here's a repeat of the highlights. Guyana rejects Venezuela's maritime claim, says it will continue to develop its resources. TIP operation nets 29 non-nationals. June 10, a historic day in Guyana as 11th Parliament opens. Powers of local democratic organs to be restored and implementation of national youth policy to be prioritized. Please note that Weekly Digest and other government information can be found on our website www.gina.gov.gy, or you can send us your comments and suggestions at ginagovgy@gmail.com. You can also read our newspaper, The Guyanese, online at theguyanese.gy. Join us again next week as we highlight more of the government's programs and policies that are aimed at enhancing the lives of citizens. I am Shanta Goberdan. Do have a safe week ahead. Goodbye.